On today's episode of America Unfiltered with James Pascalides, we'll talk about topics like New York Times and their delusion with the cartels, Trump visiting North Carolina assessing the damages, Republicans introducing a concealed carry bill, Marines on the United States border, Thomas Massie urging for a pardon for Edward Snowden, and Trump's stamina versus Biden's. All that and much more on America Unfiltered with James Pascalides starting now.
The moment is here. This is our moment.
America, we are back, baby. Happy Friday. We're almost at the weekend. I'm going to talk to you guys about a few topics today. I already told you what they are. To dive right into things, I want to start with talking about the New York Times and their delusion towards Trump's actions towards the cartel. So the New York Times recently posted an article. I'll link it for you guys in the description as well. But the New York Times posted an article saying how Trump labeling cartels in Mexico terrorist organizations will hurt the tourism industry. So what they're claiming, and part of this is true as well, is that the cartels fund a lot of the various all-inclusive resorts around Mexico that American tourists will stay at. They generally try and keep these places safe because they bring in a lot of money for the cartels. But bringing in money for the cartels and Americans being able to have all-inclusive vacations in Mexico isn't a good reason to not label the cartels a terrorist organization. I think the New York Times is delusional for allowing this article to be written by one of their writers. I personally think that the cartels, who are known for their terrible, terrible violence, who are known for their violence it's worse than most terrorist organizations around the world. They're known to skin their victims. They're known to burn them alive, torture them. It's a very disgusting, brutal scenario that the cartels are currently, brutal operation the cartels are currently running. So for Trump to label them terrorist organizations not only shows patriotism, but it shows strength by the United States as well. It shows that we're not going to allow United States citizens and citizens of foreign countries like Mexico to be run and tortured by these cartel gang members. I think Trump's idea of why he labeled them a terrorist organization is so that he gains the ability to use special forces and or military force on the cartels. Not only that, but one of the fastest ways to get the Mexican government to work against the cartels, which they currently almost work for, a lot of the Mexican government is very corrupted by the cartel money. But one of the fastest ways, in my opinion, and I think Donald Trump sees this as well, but if you tell Mexico that we're going to go to war with the cartels, the Mexican government will be on our side. The Mexican government isn't going to fight alongside the cartels. They will fight alongside with us. So, in my opinion, one of the fastest ways to get the Mexican government to work against the cartels is doing what Donald Trump's doing, is putting pressure on them, calling them a terrorist organization, and saying we will use force against them if they continue how they are operating. And to get back to the original part of this, I really think that New York Times should do an evaluation of their writers. I really think this piece lacked common sense. Again, I'm going to link it for you guys so you guys could read it as well. But saying that it would hurt the tourism industry to label them as terrorist organizations and just allowing them to continue to operate how they are, torturing, killing Americans, Mexicans, and just anyone who crossed paths with the cartel, I think is a disgusting take. And I think that the person who works for the New York Times who wrote this should definitely be fired. To talk about our next topic, President Donald Trump went to North Carolina. He wanted to assess the damages in the area from Hurricane Helene and Milton. So he flew to Asheville, North Carolina. He met with local officials, residents. He met with FEMA officials as well. So he gave a lot of criticism to FEMA. He actually proposed overhauling and eliminating the agency to help enhance disaster response. He emphasized increasing states' responsibility and direct funding for disaster management instead. I think that would be a great job. I think FEMA has become politically corrupt over the last few years. So FEMA gave thousands and thousands of dollars to multiple illegal immigrant families for groceries, housing, food, and budgeted millions of their dollars towards this while only saving enough money for very little amount of money for the citizens in these disasters. So I live in Florida, where we were personally affected by these hurricanes as well. And it took people an insane amount of time to get any money from FEMA or be able to get any type of assistance at all. And in North Carolina, it's even worse. So I personally love Donald Trump's take on this. I think FEMA has become a corrupt organization that currently doesn't have the best interests of the citizens in mind. At one point it did. I don't know the exact point where that changed. I would like to figure that out a little bit, but I really think that a president who has the best idea for the people in mind and not financial incentives for the government or for different political ideologies, I think is a president we need. So I think that's why Donald Trump is going to be excellent for this. I am really excited to see how Donald Trump handles the future of North Carolina, rebuilding, and what Trump will do for the future of the state. To get into our next topic as well, I want to talk about how Trump withdrew the proposed ban on menthol cigarettes. So I'm not a cigarette smoker, but I support everyone's American right to do so. So I think that banning flavors of cigarettes, especially the most popular one like menthol, banning it because they're saying it promotes smoking due to the flavor. I don't think anyone's picking up a cigarette to be like, hey, I just want some menthol. You can get various kinds of menthol essential oils, different gums, things like that. I don't think the menthol taste is what's getting people to say, hey, let me start a lifetime addiction. I think people start cigarettes for their own personal reasons or social pressure. But whatever that reason is, I don't think the government should be able to dictate the personal lifestyle choices of that person when it comes to the flavor of cigarette they choose. I slightly understand the side of it with vapes, where they want to take all the fruity flavors away of vapes. That's a little bit different, and we could talk about that too. All the vapes, which has become a huge epidemic for the younger generation, there are hundreds and hundreds of flavors, probably thousands of flavors. Anything ranging from birthday cake to Oreos to strawberry to peach to mango to mint and menthol, tobacco. So there's all these fruity flavors. There are your traditional, more cigarette-like flavors. But I do understand the government's opposition to the fruity flavors in vapes. I could see why that's incentivizing to younger children and marketed more towards younger children than it is towards smoking age adults. But for the government to limit very neutral flavors like tobacco, menthol, maybe even one or two fruity flavors or a mixed fruit flavor or something for people who don't prefer that. But for the government to think it's their position to limit these things for the American people is unconstitutional. It's un-American. It's infringing on our personal liberties. So I don't agree with the overreach of the government, and I do agree with Donald Trump withdrawing the proposed ban. I think he'll also gain some popularity with smokers as well. Again, it's a personal choice if people decide to smoke or not. I don't judge people based off of that. I don't smoke, but I think that anyone who does should have the right to choose if they want a menthol flavored cigarette or not. I don't see any good reason why anyone who's over the age of 21, which that's the age to smoke in Florida, I don't see any reason why that person, if they wanted a cigarette, couldn't pick a menthol cigarette over a traditional tobacco flavored cigarette. So personally, like I said, I found that un-American that they even proposed that in the first place, and I'm extremely excited that President Donald Trump took that away. I want to talk about our next topic too. So Republicans have introduced the Constitutional Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act. So what this does is, if you don't know what concealed carry is, it's concealed carrying a firearm in a strapped-on holster, under your clothing, in a bag, something along the lines of that, where it's not visible or seen to anybody else. In certain states, you need a concealed carry license to conceal carry. In Florida, we have constitutional carry. So what that means is if you fit all the descriptions to get a concealed carry license and you're a law-abiding citizen, you can conceal carry without that license. What the Reciprocity Act would do is make it that, so any state that has concealed carry, you would be able to go conceal carry in that state without the license, as long as you fit the description, and we're following all the rules of a license holder who is concealed carrying. So I personally agree. I think this empowers more law-abiding citizens to be able to carry their firearms, especially when they're traveling, which isn't always the safest thing. I think that citizens carrying their firearms is an amazing patriotic thing. The more law-abiding citizens we have carrying firearms, protecting our Second Amendment and protecting our citizens, I think the better. The best way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. That's one of the reasons that we keep guns around, because if you theoretically tried to ban them, it would only take the guns out of the hands of the good guys, not the bad guys. That's a topic we could really dive into another day as well, and I'd love to hear all my listeners. I'd love to hear all your opinions on that as well. But in my opinion, the best way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. And I think the more law-abiding, great patriotic American citizens we have concealed carrying in our great nation, the better. So I fully support this bill. I'm excited to see the future of it, if it can pass in the House and Senate, and if Donald Trump will push it through as well. I'm going to play a quick video for you guys, and then we'll dive into it, talk about it a little bit. But this video is posted today by a few different government agencies and a bunch of news reporters as well. It shows Marines being deployed to our United States border. So Donald Trump has declared the border a national emergency, and because of that, he was able to deploy troops there. So I'm going to pop this video up for you guys, and then we'll talk about it a little. Watching something like that gets me feeling pretty patriotic. When you see our military empowered to do their jobs and protect our country, it gives me a good feeling inside. It makes me extremely proud of our troops as well. I thank any man or woman who has the courage to act in service, act in our military. I think it takes a stronger individual than me or anyone I know. It's a truly an honor, and I truly appreciate every sacrifice every man, woman who that serves for our country makes. I really think seeing those planes doing Overwatch, dropping off Marines as they're getting ready to protect our border, repel any surges of immigrants trying to come in the country, detain and deport immigrants as well as they attempt to come in our country. Like I said, it's truly empowering for the American people, the American government, our military, our border patrol agents to finally be able to do their jobs, be protected, and know that they're not going to get the same scrutiny they had under the Biden administration, where they were polarized for just doing their jobs and they weren't allowed to do their jobs over time. So I think it's our patriotic duty to protect our border. I think many Americans view this as a necessary action to maintain law and order in this country. I want to hear what you guys think of that as well. I know I definitely support that, but providing overwhelming support for our Border Patrol agents with the Marine Corps, I think it's an excellent move by President Donald Trump. President Donald Trump, time and time again, is proving to us that he's going to put Americans first. I want to talk about another topic today. So there was an earthquake in New Jersey. I want to just report on this. It was a 2.4 magnitude earthquake. It struck northern New Jersey near Paramus. There were no reported injuries or significant damage. I still just wanted to report this, let the people know what's happening around the country. A bunch of residents were startled, and through social media, they were able to confirm that it was a minor earthquake. It's not unheard of in that region, but it is extremely uncommon. But it does give Americans and people in New Jersey a little bit of an opportunity now to almost, have some emergency preparedness plans. I'm sure a lot of people weren't prepared for this. I personally grew up in New Jersey, and I never experienced an earthquake up there, in my 20-some years of living there. So now that I'm down in Florida and there's been 2 earthquakes there in the last year, if I was a New Jersey resident, I would definitely get some sort of plan in place like we have down here for hurricanes. To dive into our next topic, and this is one of my favorite topics, something I'm very excited about, but Thomas Massie is urging President Trump for a pardon on Edward Snowden. This is something I stand by wholeheartedly, and I want to hear your guys' perspectives on this. If you don't know who Edward Snowden is, he worked for our NSA and our government. He was never arrested because he fled to Russia, actually, for safety, but he was under threat of arrest due to leaking national security information. So what he did is he exposed under his documentary Citizen4. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend to go watch it. It's a first-person documentary where a camera crew is filming him in a hotel room, exposing all these government secrets days before he leaves for Russia so he can't get extradited back to the United States. His family didn't know he was doing this, so before he gave all the information to the people in the hotel room, he had to say goodbye to his family without them even knowing what was going on. But he knew in his mind that he was either going to get killed or arrested, or he was going to have to leave the country. I personally think Edward Snowden's an American hero. He showed the American people that the American government was using severe overreach and going against the laws to spy on everyday Americans, read all of our phone calls, listen to all of our phone calls, read all of our emails and text messages, our website history, even hacking our cameras on our computers and cell phones as well to spy on us. And they were doing this to certain terrorist organizations and certain criminal figures in the United States, but at the same time, this was happening to everyday Americans, people like your mother, your father, your siblings, your neighbor, yourself. It was happening to an insane amount of Americans, and Edward Snowden, he exposed all this. He showed that the NSA was a corrupt agency who wasn't following the law. When he's in the hotel room and he's explaining all of this to the documentary crew, he goes through the trouble of unplugging the phones in the room and making sure that nobody is listening through secret recordings. He even talks about how even if the phone is off, if it's in the room, they can still hear every word you're saying. So I personally urge everybody here to watch Citizen4. I think it's one of the greatest movies. They also have a movie called Snowden. It's a biopic. The biopic, in my opinion, is not as good as the actual documentary with Edward Snowden in it called Citizen 4. But as more information comes out about this topic, I'm definitely going to keep you guys reported. I'm going to follow this as closely as possible because I personally think Edward Snowden is an American hero. I don't think he should be living in Russia for fear for his safety in America for exposing American secrets. I think people in our government, whistleblowers, who expose the secrets of our government, not to foreign entities, but expose the secrets of our government to the American people, the corruption, they should be given medals. They should be honored and looked at as heroes, not having to go to countries like Russia for safety. The idea of an American living in Russia for safety it doesn't make sense to me, and it makes me upset to think about, but I really hope for the safe return of Edward Snowden to America. I hope that Trump can get that pardon done, and I hope Thomas Massie urging him to do this will finally get that done. For our final topic today, or actually we have two more topics today. For our second and final topic today, we're going to talk about how Trump has amazing stamina compared to Biden. So what has it been? It's been 4 days since Trump has been inaugurated as president. We've probably seen Donald Trump do more press conferences than Joe Biden did in 4 years. This is a few things. One, it's embarrassing for Joe Biden. It shows that not only was he not fit to be president, something most of us knew going into it, and even if you didn't realize it immediately, you probably realized it down the line, especially during the debate, as he couldn't even get a full sentence out. But Trump has incredible stamina at his age, and he's not only showing up for the media, answering questions, being present, but he's taking action for the American people. Like things I've named in this video, deploying troops to the American border, things I've named in previous videos, like exposing the secrets of the RFK, JFK, MLK files, and all the executive orders he's done over the last few days. I really think Trump is one of the greatest presidents America could have asked for and voted for in a time like this. I think in a post-COVID world, a president who's willing to put Americans first, cut all the BS out, stop lying to the American people, and make sure our taxpayer dollars are put to good use. I think it's one of the greatest things Trump has said he's going to do and has followed through on. And I'm very excited for the next 4 years. I'm excited to see Trump keep going at the rate he's going at. And I just couldn't imagine if Biden ever dropped out of the race and Biden, if he got elected, him attempting to do this. Like I said, Biden in 4 years probably did less press conferences than Trump did in the last 4 days. I think it's embarrassing for the Democratic Party that they propped up such a poor candidate. Joe Biden in his prime was an excellent speaker, very quick, witty, but Joe Biden is a shell of himself now, and for his family and the Democratic Party to have pushed him this far, I think is embarrassing. I think it's disrespectful to the American people and taxpayers as well. To talk about our final topic as well, Trump has said that to send federal aid to the state of California, he wants two things to happen. He wants basic voter ID laws, and he wants them to allow the water to flow. So I'm going to work backwards here, start from the end. What he means by allow the water to flow is they have emptied out a couple of their reservoirs, and they do have a dam. They have a dam there to protect what they're calling an endangered fish. So because of this one endangered fish species, they are allowing homes to burn down. They are allowing the citizens of their state to be endangered to protect this one species of fish. I personally think that saving American lives and homes is more important than that species. So, like I said, I wholeheartedly agree with Trump there. I think that's an easy fix. And voter ID laws. I think voter ID laws are a must in everywhere. California says voter ID laws are racist, and I'm going to tell you why that's racist to say. So, saying voter ID laws is racist is saying that black people are too incompetent to get a driver's license. I've never met a black person over the age of 18 who does not have some form of ID. And to say that they don't know how to get ID, they can't get ID, and it's racist to require voter ID because less black people will vote is racist to say. I think California is an extremely racist state. I think I think they tried to be so unracist, they became racist. I think DEI played a big factor in that as well. Critical race theory, too. I'm very glad Donald Trump has removed those things and all the bureaucracy from our government. But yeah, I personally, I don't know exactly how I feel about Donald Trump saying he needs those things to happen for him to send aid. I think the president should be sending aid no matter what. I think him doing that is more just a little bargaining chip. I don't love that he makes it conditional, but at the same time, I do think that a state that doesn't require voter ID laws and is they're pushing against it. It's not like they just don't require it. They actively are pushing against voter ID laws, consistently saying that it's racist to require it. I think it almost seems like a third world state. It's like, how are you this behind? How are you this behind in America that you don't even require an ID to vote? So that means illegal citizens can just go vote. That means that people could vote multiple times. It's extremely easy for voter fraud to happen in California due to these things. So, like I said, I don't agree with them. I want to hear what you guys think too. I always want to keep my comments and my messages open to all my viewers to respond and let me know what they're thinking. But I'm going to sign off for today. I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. I'm James Pascalides. This is America Unfiltered, episode 14. I'm signing off, and I hope you all have a blessed day today. Thank you so much.